manipulation, all it did was fill in this area here, fill in this area, ascending wedge. Just in case people miss the manipulation here, it gave a third opportunity for an ascending wedge, and then it gave a retest over a lower low. I'm like, oh, that's so suspicious. I wonder what's gonna happen. So then it's just like, I
It
don't
should
know. That's
continue to sell, right?
yeah, it's a
Mhm.
continuance to sell for the dollar. And that's why I always have to be in the market because it's just like, I don't know. It's like like targeting and timing it is one thing, but you're not going to be able to time everything. Sometimes you got to just be in it. And there would have been plenty of opportunities that I would have missed when I was thinking, oh, let me just take this and reset myself. I even thought about it with the signals account. Let me reset myself. But if I reset myself and it didn't give these entries again, like it hasn't, I would have been pissed because it messes up my compound. It messes it up to where I've seen it work so many times. Even though this is what's scaring people, they don't understand. This is like the key to the city, the balance being negative because now it's showing one, the balance is negative because every time we enter the it's like it's gonna cost us money. That's one of the reason it's negative. The other reason it's negative, the balance, is because if these positions are bad and the stack is here and it dive too far and that margin level percentage go to 70% or under 69%, and we don't have enough leverage down here to hold it, it's only going to take those bad positions. But as we get closer and closer, let me see, to say like 85,000, 90,000, 100,000, and we still got positions, it's just going to give us even more room to work with on the margin level percentage. Instead of it got to worry about us taking it out at like 70%, then it's like, okay, now I got more room to work with. It might try to take us out at 49%, 50%. But that's worst case scenario if we had to go through that, if that makes sense. So it's just like, oh, and we got the option of not having to add anymore either. So if we were to not add anymore and even just take it to all time highs is right here at like what 122 close, 126. I think it could go to 130 if I'm gonna just drag even 1.01, 1.01 right there is a $500 point oh one. Just like this descending wedge can hold it down, a break of a descending wedge can give it free will to go up. So it's just really the patience that makes me a different trader than other traders. And I had no choice but to be patient because I remember being a squirrely trader and I would blow my accounts going from buy to sell to buy to sell and buy to sell. And I finally just learned my lesson because I blew enough accounts on buy to sell, buy to sell. I gotta let the market do all the work. But that's how my investment worked with Merrill Lynch as well. But then I'm like, I had Merrill Lynch and they shut my accounts down last year. I got multiple six figures in there. I didn't have them for 11 years and it didn't make any sense other than I was invested in cryptocurrency. And that's what I was telling people the other day on cryptocurrency. I don't know. I'm just, it's almost like it's like the apocalypse talk for cryptocurrency, but it's just an asset. I only want the assets they're going to also invest in. Meme coins is one thing. Meme coins I've made money on, but when it comes to long-term assets, I am investing in Bitcoin. I have like 10 ledgers. I bought my friends gifts as ledgers because it's like when it comes to our withdrawal, it I just get so tired of paying that much in taxes. Like I would rather it go from an unregulated broker to my ledger. And that's how it's been. So even with that one big withdrawal that I had got on Kraken last year because I wasn't using Coinbase anymore, Kraken, I don't know if they're that anal about the IRS and stuff like that because they didn't really give me like a tax form and it wasn't a lot on there, but it's just like a safer way to do things to where it's like they're not keeping track on what you got and how much of it you have because it's like I don't know if news was meant to make everybody rich, everybody would be rich. And when I think about how I was in 2018, 2017, people like consumers we've been investing in crypto and stuff like that. So now the big banks are just not getting on, and I'm watching the transformation of everything and how they're regulating stuff and how they're even with Cash App. It's like if I try to sell Bitcoin or anything off of Cash App, they like want my social security number and shit. I'm like, oh no, we can't do that. So I just rather send it to my ledger and then quite literally I only move over what I need. So from Cash App to my bank account, I'm only moving over like my monthly bills and stuff like that because everything else is not for the government to know. It's just like it's money that works as the stock market, but just like I needed Merrill Lynch and Fidelity to access the stock market, I don't need them to access crypto. That's the issues of why they were like killing off the unregulated brokers or killing off our access to them back in 2023. But it's like the trader I am now, the investor I am now, it it like you know how I made that one video about it all depends. Everything kind of depends because certain situations are like a new situation for me too. Kind of like COVID. COVID was new for everybody. Nobody's ever experienced a COVID before, but it's like situations are new, but the way that you process the situation is not new because it still goes down to I remember but I think it was Dow Jones. It dropped from like 30,000 to 18,000 in like a few weeks. That was like an accelerated bear market to me because every single low is gonna give you a reason to buy. So if that every single low gives you a reason to buy, no matter what. And I didn't even understand flags back then like that as far as looking at the descending wedges and ascending wedges. It's sharper now because it's like once it breaks a descending wedge, you gotta buy it because it's a low point. Every low is gonna give you a reason to buy. So it's like I don't know. I had options traders too. I've taught them, and they say that they never get the concept. Like no one taught them the concept of technical analysis because there's so much more to understand with options trading because they got to worry about time decay and stuff like that. So they focus more on that. But then when option traders come to me and I show them technical analysis, their trading is so much better. Like my last option students I taught, he was in 2023. His name was Austin. I think he was from like Pennsylvania. And he was still working a job. He was also actually a truck driver. I get a lot of truck drivers. And what's it called? He made his first million in 9 months because he came from a point at this like my first time opening the signals and stuff like that. And he didn't even have like $150 at first to get into the signals. But then what he did was he grew his money in the signals once he joined for 150. I was like, all right, you ain't got 150. I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
150 into the signals. And then and that was September. So then by that October, same year, he grew like $3,000. It took a month, but he grew it to $3,000 and he joined the mentorship because he saw so much growth just coming from the signals. And that was like my last time, like back then, taking like group mentorship students and stuff like that. So I had got a lot of group mentorship students. And then so he get in from there he got in October, November, December, he was having some trouble, but then he started to stabilize in January. And then from January to that July he made his first million and he didn't even start with me completely until that September of the year prior. So I was like, that's how I can like articulate it now on even though each disaster is different and we're all experiencing a disaster for the first time, like say if we get nuked, God forbid, I never been nuked before, but if the market dies, I'm still gonna buy the low. I still gonna buy that low. Oh shit, it's a tsunami crash. Da, 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 da. Oh shit, that market crashing crazy. All right, guys, get ready, set buy. And you don't have to buy it big the first time, but you need to buy it so that you can. I get mixed up. I can say that. I get mixed up if I'm not in the market on where exactly my position was. Kind of like how we just talked about GU. I was trying to figure out where my position was in GU, but because I'm not in GU anymore, because I never got back in GU, because I'm not in GU anymore, I couldn't tell where exactly that entry was, and I think it was somewhere up here. But if I always have entries in the market, it probably was somewhere up here because my position's got a habit of diving off and then stabilizing exactly where the fuck it fell from. I just and that's why I just hold it because it's just like even thinking about the dive that came from here to here, that was like, okay, that was really like a 24-hour dive because we were in it that Tuesday going into Wednesday. I knew US. Let's go to US 30 real quick. I knew US 30 was gonna do that night, but it had smoked me the night before. Yes, it was right here. It smoked me the night before on this shit right here, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should just leave it alone. And I'm like, okay, we sold it here, I think, or yeah, something like that. And then tried to sell it. Well, where I missed the sell here, and then it sold off. When I wake up the next morning, it's over here or over here. But I'm just like, I'm not falling for that. I'm not a new trader, so I'm not falling for the, okay, guys, you missed your sale last night at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. I looked at it. It was like 10, 11 o'clock in the night. I was like right before a London session. And I just like, no, let me just see where it's at in the morning. Wake up in the morning, the shit is on the ground. I'm pissed. I'm like, man, that's crazy. But not pissed enough to just get in no trade for no reason because we have to have a reason as to why we're entering. Like if I were to enter a buy, my reasoning behind this buy that I'm would enter, not that we entering to buy anytime soon on US 30 because we stacked in Bitcoin. I want to manipulate Bitcoin because I can. I have entries there. It makes enough sense for me to manipulate Bitcoin. We got a weekly candle. We finna get a new weekly candle. You mean to tell me, bro? If we decided to do some crazy bearish weekly candle to start, I just don't see that in our future. But it's like we already got this wick and it's already closed way above our other position. So it only makes sense to me to go higher. Even though I put this little, you see this here? This horizontal line. Let me take that off because I'm bad about that too. I'm looking at it from a level of where it is right then, but I have to only look at higher highs and higher lows, right? So it's like that daily chart. I shouldn't look at this wick. I should know that we finna push through it because we came from here. It's like a catapult or a slingshot from pulling back to slinging forward, to pulling back to slinging forward, to pulling back to slinging forward. We just don't know how far it's gonna pull back. So because I mean I've just experienced it so many times. If I was to buy, I would buy because this is an impulse to the upside, retest to the downside, retest on top of consolidation. And in consolidation, we understand what our rules of uptrend is and our rules of a downtrend is. I just would rather be a buyer because it's giving me a buy setup rather than a sell setup. And it's like I would only take that buy, and then my stop loss would be under a previous low. Now check this out too, because I don't think we talked about this yet. If I was to use a stop loss, you know how I had a stop loss here on this point oh 0.03 position because at this point that account was like 87 to 90, but then I
Mm-hmm.
that point oh 0.03 was my biggest position because I mean we just didn't have any equity yet. Now we have equity in the game. I haven't been using stop losses because there's no point in using the stop loss when we have this kind of stack. But before we have this kind of stack, if I'm just an intraday trader and if I'm using that kind of stack, my stop loss be like like it has to be correct if that makes sense. So that's what people don't understand about stop like Amy. She's going crazy. I was like, what's that back there? So stop losses, it's not based on your entry. It is, but it isn't. The new traders and me included back then, I would trade more of my P and L rather than the setup. And stop loss, the rule is your stop loss has to be correct from the first entry. So if you got a late entry into the buy, and this would be a demand curve, I would put my stop loss technically below this first entry right here, if that makes sense. Because if it was to actually take off, even though this is a 1 hour chart, it tries to take off here. This was the first one to really start the trend because it would be this one here, but technically this one because this will be the retest of this zone. So your stop loss, if a perfect stop loss will be here, the people will be like, oh, well, that's not right because all this price action has happened here. All this price action has happened here on the 1 hour chart. You get to the higher time frames and it looks a whole lot less complicated. That's why I don't use the 1 hour chart like that. Now you see this big giant daily candle right here. And now you see how I was talking about of that original stop loss being like under here. This would be if none of this happened over here, then it would be like a retest, then upside setup. Everything else, all these days, is just noise. This is an impulse to the upside, retest to the downside. Should have held April 21st, got manipulated, came down, finally gave you a bullish impulse candle. Bullish impulse candle closes above a level of previous supply being this green line as it acted as supply over here, 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 and here, and then take off to the upside, but you don't buy highs, you buy lows, right? So now it's like trend started here. Every single low is giving me a reason to buy in the uptrend. But now it's like we get a firm daily candle close to the upside. retest to the top side, pull back in trend. So now I want to buy it because to me, this US 30 could go to 60,000 because in an uptrend, it's only going to make higher highs and higher lows no matter what. So it's like that's the infinite part on we can't tell the market when to turn around. People think because it's at all-time highs. Big that bro, I used to be one of those traders. I know exactly what they're thinking. Oh, it's at all-time highs, guys. Let's sell it. Yeah, they banking on you selling it. They're like, these idiots, they never learn. They're gonna sell it again. And this gonna give you a little bit of a sale, just like it used to do me back in the day. I'm like, yes, I'm right for 5 minutes, and then that shit would go boosh, and I just like, damn. But now I know. I just lost so many times that way, to where I understand, and it's just like there's no wrong way to trade. It's just the way that I trade. It looked like I'm up all the time, which I am still awake all the time, but it's not in that case of trading all the time. I enter my positions and then I wait for it to hold. If the positions are bad, the broker's gonna take those positions for me. The positions that are good though, oh look, that's even like a nice little setup right here. Let's see if we put a little point on one there. Because now it's just like it's not gonna do much to our margin level, but it's like this is an impulse to the upside, just like US 30 was showing right here on that what time frame was that? Oh, I think a daily chart. Yeah, impulse to the upside. But same thing, but on the 5 minute chart, impulse to the upside. Close hold, close hold. Retest to the downside, retest to the downside. All this time, we haven't broke this low, this low, this low, this low, this low, and we've been entering since over here. I'm just gonna take my chances on this is a buy further because it's just like if it's wrong, it's just gonna take this position off if it's too close to 70%. It's gonna take this position off if it's too close to 70%. But we still got all these positions here. But even these positions started with the same mindset on what these positions are right now, right? On we have to at some point risk it. We have to at some point give it an opportunity to see if it's gonna be a bad position. Because if it's not a bad position, it ends up like these positions here, which is like our equity into the game. So now it's like we got a balance that's negative 54. Most people would try to save it. No, let that balance do that because if they could take it, they would. And eventually they're not going to be able to. And when I enter, they let position slip because I have equity right here. If I don't have equity on the account, they won't let the position slip to where I can eventually get more positions, if that makes sense. So that's why I was like, you know what? Actually, this would be a good one to understand because, like, I don't think like I've had people ask me or even trade their accounts to where they can see this part of it. Like people see me trading the negative accounts, but they don't never get to see the duration of it, if that makes sense. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I hold it like that because it's like an equity swap for me. I got the equity and a little bit higher balance than what we started with, but even if I entered nothing else, this account could be a couple $1,000s by the time it hit 100,000. But then people are gonna be like, "Oh, let me go ahead and take profit at that." Right, but then they got to start that mindset over and over again. If I still, they still got to start an account like this. They still got to kind of weigh their options and survive it. Once the account gets to 100,000, not this account, but the price of Bitcoin gets to 100,000. Once the price of Bitcoin gets to 100,000, now I'm not worried about 100,000 to 75,000 to 60,000. I'm worried about 100,000 to 130,000, 150,000. So now I got a new demand curve even for my profits, if that makes sense. So just like it's higher highs and higher lows in the uptrend, if my profits are right, then my profits are also making higher highs and higher lows, and that's what I'm tracking. And that's I think that's just the part that a lot of new traders they probably don't have experience with, or they just one just don't know about it, or it's just like it's just awkward emotionally for them to hold it because we have been surviving a lot of BS. But then I'm just like, well, good thing we're tucked in, guys.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. I'm just like I felt like I don't know. As soon as the account goes negative, I'm like, man, it's almost time to shine, guys. The account is negative because they can't get us. If they wanted to get us, they would blow this shit. And like, they still in. They still got hope. They still got spirit. Yes, we do, markets. Yes, we do. Give it to me. You got any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Perfect, perfect. Well, I'm gonna send this video to you. You got my number too, so yeah. I said, oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. My Telegram was getting blown up, so you can always text me too to check Telegram because sometimes I won't see it because they just be messaging
Okay.
me all day.
Okay.
But I'll see you this copy too. And then I mean I think we're doing good. Like I'm not gonna stack it too much here. I think most of
Hmm.
my stacking for the most part is gonna come after we hit the 100,000 mark or at least 85,000 because I kind of want to get away from this area.
Hmm.
And then of course it's still gonna be off of the higher highs, the higher lows. Like the entries, the descending wedges, stuff like that. That entry's
Hmm.
still gonna come from it. I just need it to happen at a higher price level than where it is now because honestly, I feel like we should still have all our entries from Friday, and it's like it went down, but it didn't go down that crazy. It's like this is only a couple $100 move, but we entered over here at 75. So really we up like $3,000 in price, but it's like it's just the momentum we're building. So don't let it scare you. We're good. We're good.
Sounds good.
Perfect. All right, and I'm gonna catch you. You want to do next Sunday too?
Yeah, we could do next Sunday.
All right, cool, cool, cool. All right, I'll catch you, and I'll send this to you today.
All right, thanks.
All right, bye.